See, this is what happens during G-Day is you start to see guys emerge that you didn't, they just start emerging. I mean, like everybody that gets recruited to Georgia is good, right? The question is how good will they be and how long will it take? Or how long does it take to do that? For me on Saturday, the one guy that jumped out that I kind of was not expecting was Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. All right. So Ingram Dawkins was out there with the first team defense at the start of the game. It didn't look like it was, anything strange. I don't think Robert Beal played, and I don't know if Robert would be taking that spot anyway, but it occurs to me that Robert Beal did not play. But Ingram Dawkins on the first play of the game and beyond really had uh, what I would say a noticeable push and move forward during that first drive or so of the game. And it was to me at the beginning, I was like, that's kind of curious that he's out there because his number 93, he looks a little bit like Richard Seymour, and I know the number is one of the things that confuses you on that, but um, all I could think was, okay, I got to, because with all these numbers, sometimes you get confused as to who's what. I was like, I got to figure out who that is, and number one, and then number two, it just shows that Trey Scott has a understanding and a capability of producing with guys that you don't you've kind of forgotten about. I mean, Zion, I've talked about Zion Logue on here a lot, and but I've only watched like the first half on video, but Ingram Dawkins jumped out more to me than Zion did. But is that because he was playing on the edge? Is that because Zion? I mean, Jordan Davis didn't always jump out either, and yet he became a legend. So I just I think it's something to watch, and I think if you've got yet another player that can help you out on that line, it's going to make a big difference because that's what people think is going to change the most on Georgia is the defensive line because you lost Jordan. Trayvon Walker was, exceptional. But Ingram Dawkins, a 6'5", 300-pound, a redshirt freshman from Gaffney. If you don't know where Gaffney is, well, that's where the guy from House of Cards is from, right? First of all. But for those of us who have a lot of experience in South Carolina, that's where that giant peach is when you drive down the interstate through Gaffney. So, really, really good football program. But what does that mean? What does it mean if Ingram Dawkins is a guy that you can depend on and push there and play this season? It gives you even more, options on the defensive line. Devontae Wyatt, Julian Rochester, Jordan Davis, Trayvon Walker, obviously they're all gone. You know, now you've got to figure out where you're going with Tramel Walthour, Jalen Carter, Stackhouse, Brinson, Bill Norton was with I think he was with the threes a lot. Mitchell, I've talked a lot about Zion Logue, Jefferson, Dean, Ingram Dawkins. And you've got the younger guys. I mean, Bear Alexander did not play, but Michael Williams did for sure, and he jumped out a little bit too. If you can set your defensive line, obviously it's a lot like the offensive line and setting your offensive line. It gives you the ability to do so much more with your team. If you are Georgia and you are able to kind of get back going with your defensive line allowing, fewer than 100 yards a game rushing, you're going to be right back where you were a season ago. Now, you're not as athletic. We knew that and know that. You're not as gifted at certain spots. Defensive back has got, or with corners and DBs, secondary. Those guys are all, I mean, it's not going to be as good as it was this past year. Lewis Cine was a star. DeAndre Kendrick was just a really good player for Georgia, and it helped them a lot. But this defense is gonna really be uh, the way you can dictate to other teams will be because of your defensive line. If you get the job done there, you don't have to worry about the run game so much. If you don't have to worry about the run game so much, then you can do what you want on the back end more often than not. It's one of the most important things in football are your lines of scrimmage, if not the most important thing. And I obviously think about Clemson a lot. My wife is a big Clemson fan. I watch Clemson play. What powered them to championships 2 years out of three was a generational quarterback, which they do not currently have, and an exceptional defensive line, which they probably don't have right now, but they're not that far from it. That's what they had in 16 and 18. They had the line in 6 and 17, but the defensive line, but they didn't have the quarterback. They 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 didn't have the defense the way they did in 19, and Trevor couldn't save them because Trevor was running around with his head cut off because LSU Tigers were were pile driving him into the Superdome turf. So you've got to have a lot. But with Ingram Dawkins, it was just surprising to me. I'm just going to tell you right now, I did not expect to see him out there with the ones, first of all. And secondly, that he was kind of flashing a little bit. I think it's really good news. With the way Georgia scheduled that or set that scrimmage up, that the defensive line wasn't going to be doing a lot. I mean, this was a pass happy day. That's not the way that Georgia plays offense. And, even still, I thought the defensive line held up pretty well. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many running yards there were, but it wasn't like they were running for. I mean, this was basically all passing on Saturday, and you know they got their hands up. They couldn't really rush, right? They got their hands up and knocked a lot of balls down. Jalen Carter was in there to block a field goal attempt. It just they won in little tricky ways. You got to go out and do that now because you don't have well, in this case, because of the way the scrimmage was, and then in the future, you're allowed to knock passes down. It takes a down away, and it's very frustrating, frankly, too, because you don't even get a chance to complete the pass. So this Georgia defensive line, if you're going to have players get out there and make plays, um, like Ingram Dawkins did, it just gives them so much more uh, capability to run other guys in their Stackhouse, uh, Walthour. There are a lot of players at Georgia that can cycle in there, but you do need your core group. I am want to remind you of picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. Here's a good look at it. I'm going to be running out of these for this fourth order pretty soon. Make sure you order it. The link is down below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you over on Dog Post.